So my name's Michelle Canning. I am from Strabane, currently living in Wales, and used to live in Belfast, but not anymore. It's great to be back today. I am working in communications and have done for about 30 years. Right, in January of 2022, I had what's known as Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, otherwise known as broken heart syndrome. It's a real rare condition, mostly affects postmenopausal women over the age of 65. I'm not quite there yet. I was 49 when it happened and had been making my way to the health centre, had taken pains in my chest, and I just thought I was in the dish, and to be honest with you, went in, had gone in just to get my blood pressure checked and ended up in the Royal, being treated initially for having had a heart attack, and then had an angiogram. It was discovered then I had what's known as Takotsubo cardiomyopathy. It's called broken heart syndrome because in a third of cases of women primarily who present with a Takotsubo is because it's usually when there's been a period of grief or a period of intense stress. A third of the cases, there's usually a physical trigger, they say, and a third of the cases, they have absolutely no idea why it happens. So when I had the obviously conversation with the healthcare team at the hospital, they asked me, had there been any periods of stress in my life? I don't really think that I'm a person who gets stressed very easily. I've worked in crisis comms for many years and it comes kind of naturally to me. But anyway, they said, had anything happened? And I said, well, two fairly monumental life events. My father had died in the previous October and my son had gone off to university. And so automatically it was, there's the reason for why you've had the Takotsubo, and it may well be the case and it may not. But the reality is that they don't know and neither do I. So Takotsubo cardiomyopathy is probably one of the most neglected areas of cardiology. It's practically unheard of. In fact, my own GP, who was female at the time, had never heard of it. And in fairness to her, went away and did some research on it. And I have been working on a patient advocate with Professor Dana Dawson, who's one of the leading experts actually in this field now. But there's very little known about it. There's very little known about the effectiveness of the medication that's been used to treat it. And I think it's no coincidence that it's a woman's condition primarily, and that there's been very little research or kind of any type of exploration as to what happens, why it's caused. And in fact, they don't know if you will have a recurrence, and there's no way to prevent it. So there's a disparity in terms of how women's health conditions are both treated and researched, and effectively how we explore the pathways into better health for women. And I think that's where a women's health strategy is absolutely essential, because we're tackling gender-specific issues that are specific to half the population. This is the reality, and yet we don't have it. And if you look across Britain, other areas have the same thing, and yet we don't. And not long after I had the Takotsubo, I did call for a women's health strategy that at the time was dismissed by the Department of Health as something that they didn't require. And I'm just delighted to see, that there is traction across the north from women particularly who are saying, well, absolutely, we need to have something that addresses issues that are specific to our health, because the reality is women are dying, and women are dying needlessly. And there is, in many cases, it could be prevented if we just look at how there is a difference in terms of how women even present in terms of heart conditions, how we present with them, which is different to men, and how they're treated, and really making sure that, that there are pathways for treatment for women. So the health strategy is an absolute must as far as I'm concerned.